What is your background, Jessica?
My background, environmental work.
Do you have a degree?
I do. I have a bachelor's degree in political science.
Political science. You took 51 samples?
Took 51 samples altogether. That was
Altogether.
particulate matter 2.0.
You took 8 with your
Right.
get roundy dog carrier.
Yeah.
And out of those 8 samples, you're making some very, very bold, very bold. Let me speak.
Okay.
I've been involved with significant scientific research. I've been involved in air quality in the oil and gas industry. And I look at this, and at best, this is a poor quality high school science fair project. At best. Your statements in here are inflammatory. Your procedures are not outlined. You have nobody that I can see that has any credentials. There's no environmental scientist. There's no air quality engineer. I'm trying to see here if there's any relation to EPA days above particulate matter, above ozone matter, ozone levels. I can't see any of that in this. 51 samples is clearly not enough. I think this is a prime example of garbage science that you're then going to take out to the community. It's going to be inflammatory. Everybody's going to get sick. Your comments about the babies and getting, the toxic chemicals that they're getting from being around Oakland is a great example of it. I love science. I love scientific research. A couple of years ago, I did a project on valley fever, where we didn't look at 51 data points. We didn't say from 8 data points. And to be honest, I'm really offended by this. I'm not a moron. I'm not an idiot. And if anybody thinks that trucks running by here are good, you're a moron. Okay? So why in the world anybody would spend money on this instead of going out there and planting those trees that you speak of, and planting those trees by the post office, and doing those sorts of things instead of spending money and time on garbage? I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, garbage is an interesting word.
It's garbage science. It's not even science.
We are a community group taking samples, and we were trained to be very careful in those samplings, and they were interpreted by scientists, those samples.
51 samples.
Right.
No, I think it is important
8
to.
over there. And you can say them.
We are recommending in our recommendations that there be more studies.
I could have told you that without spending a dime or a nickel.
But I don't think it's totally inflammatory, because there have been other studies showing the dangers of
Well, I suggest when you do that, next time, bring out a peer-reviewed study instead of something from the U.S. News and World Report. God, I don't know what that is. So, then I'll listen to it. So, and I am aware, it is a problem. Ozone is a problem. Particulate matter is a problem. Okay, there are a problem here in California. There are difficulties and there are things we need to monitor. But to bring this up in any way, shape, or form as some way that we should put that into the decision that this board should make as to where they locate a school is crazy. And you mentioned that this school would not be built here. Do you know how many schools would no longer be built where they are in California because of new regulations, environmental regulations? Mm-hmm. It is an astounding number. Most of the schools in Bakersfield would not be built where they are right now. It is an astounding number. There would be no schools. Am I speaking out of turn here, Ms. Superintendent?
Well, I was going to say none of the schools in this district could be built now.
Yes. I mean, so to even bring that point up is inflammatory and just incites stuff.
I'm not trying to be inflammatory. I'm trying to point out that there is a risk having a school this close and the children being outside and in the classroom.
There is a risk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
You also realize that this is the location of the largest earthquake that occurred in California. Fraser Mountain High School is on a thrust fault that could go at any time. FP's got, you can throw a stone to the San Andreas.
We can talk about the other problems with the other schools, but I think the issue at hand here is the diesel pollution that is present in this area, and what can we do about it in this area?
So plant me some trees. Spend your money on that. Don't waste money on this stuff. Plant some trees. I think it's a great idea.
It doesn't happen that quickly. We've actually been talking about planting trees for a long time, but,
And may I comment on the tree issue? We are willing to put up trees, we've been willing, I've told you that since I got here, Linda. The problem is in the declining enrollment, the expense on the trees has always been prohibitive if we're not going to leave the school open. And so now we're finally in a position where we're going to decide which school is going to be where. And then if this school is chosen to stay open, those trees will go in. We were ready to go. In fact, Dr. Hurst had given me he was looking into the different types of trees to be planted. So the trees are something that we've never argued about. Never. You and I have never even argued about.
And I'll just add that it was part of the building.
It is
part of the plan. If we were to build that, if we were to do the building on this property, that the trees were included.
And they weren't put in last year because we knew that we were going to move another grade up there and we were going to consider this option. And to spend that kind of money, and it's 10 grand, if we're not going to have children here, when we could spend that 10 grand to upgrade where we are going to put those children, seems like a poor use of all of your money. You live here, you're putting money into that bond, you're paying for that, and for us to spend it in advance of knowing where we're going to be, to accommodate this for a year,
I understand.
does not seem.
I
These
understand.
guys should pay for the trees. Put them in anyway.